Stay right there. What are you waiting for? Kill them! Kill them both! No, wait a minute. Is it money you're after? I'll give you as much as you want.
May the saints forgive you, because I won't.
Okay. Q, what's up? I guess you're not really Q. You're low IQ. A.
Yeah, it's all good. We're family, me and Q.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Shout out to Q. Haven't
shout
spoken to
out.
him in ages.
Yeah. What's going on, Jin? Thanks for having me back on.
Honestly, one of I do a very requested return guest. It's also date of record. I just want to mention this on recording is that it is Chinese New Year. So it's January the 28th, 2/8. I think that's pretty significant, just numerologically. And Lunar New Year also coincides with the kind of gonzo series that I did called Aeon of the Daughter. So I just want to shout out that craziness.
Huh.
And then also thank you so much. Thank you so much, A. I honestly would not have wanted to record on Chinese New Year with anyone else, really. And I had an amazing conversation with you the first time. So yeah, we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that first episode, and yeah, like I said, I got to opportunity to talk about some stuff a little bit off the beaten path, and
Mm-hmm.
that I don't usually get to talk about that much. So that was a lot of fun, and I'm glad people were into it. So wait, but I wanted to what's the numerological significance of 28? I'm just curious. I don't know a lot about that stuff.
Okay, so I'll go do a little bit, but I won't go crazy. So obviously, if you do normie gematria, you would see like 2, 8. Okay, 2 plus 8, that's 10. It's malkuth. That's like the perfect. It's like the man. It's the atom cadmon, or the atom, you could say. But it can also be the 1 because 0 is an empty number. It's not really of form. So you could also say the man is also the crown, is also Keter. So I think this is a good discussion that I had with Patrick Moise and Sajki about, like, because they both come from Kabbalah from actually different perspectives. Pat's episode hasn't come out as we're recording this, but it will. And so he prefers Gevura, and Sajki prefers Hesed. So it's interesting because I come at it from more of a Buddhist perspective, where I always think of middle pillar. You know, you're synthesized in the middle. That's how you go up. So 8 has a lot to do with 4. The 8th Sephira is Hod. So it said that the heart, or the spark of Hod, is at the heart of Hesed. So the spark of splendor or glory is the heart of mercy or loving kindness. So it is kind of, it's a very positive sphere. It's one of, it can be very rational and analytical and sometimes overly harsh at times in that way. But it can also be, it's infinite in its capacity for love. That's how I've often described it. So It's
So
interesting. That's really what 8 is. It's like this thing, and then 2 8s. So it's like 2 dragons. It's like an infinite symbol, infinity symbol. It's the magician. It's like the magician tarot card. The magician is often called the 8. It's a secret. That's a bit of Twilight language to shout out our other episode. The 8 is often just a symbol for the magician. Just means like a sorcerer or someone looking at the text, and they see an 8. It doesn't necessarily have to correlate to anything else, but it can just be a symbol to say this is you, talking about you. So it's a snake year. Believe a wood snake. So it's the most volatile, the most explosive,
that checks out.
But it also has the most potential.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because 2 8s can also represent decoherence or discoherence. So a kind of like disaggregation, if you want to use more Hebrew terms, you're like breaking of the Klippos, and the ash and the smoke is all around you. So you have to deal with it, but you don't want to create new aggregations to contain it. So what do you do with it? You have to purify it, like purifying quicksilver. Quicksilver is the planetary metal of Mercury. Mercury is related to the Sephir of Hod. So it's a dragon. It's a powerful dragon number. And I'm also a dragon, so as people who are listening to this probably know. So for me, it just has a lot of like, I'm very optimistic. Hey, some have said that I seem utopian almost. That's how I feel. I feel
Like
very
in
positive.
general, or like at this moment?
I feel like we're leaving, everybody knows the meme, like leaving Kali Yuga. Like, I think we've left. That's my personal thinking around that subject. We don't have to get into that, but I've talked about it before, but it is something that I've thought a lot about. It's
Kali Yuga is like the decline period, sort of the decline phase. Is that accurate? Like the before there's like a renewal kind of.
So you could think of it even in Kabbalistic terms. It's like Kali is like she's the dark mother. She's at Binah. As she's touching the earth with her foot, she's also destroying it. It's at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what Kali Yuga is. It's kind of magnetization and destruction plus ultra at the same time. But we're going into maybe you could say we are not, unfortunately, sorry Maga, we are not going into a golden yuga. We're going into a pink or a red yuga, like a rubedo but it's really not red.
What does that mean?
Rubedo is one of the final. Well, there's a disagreement between philosophers, like natural philosophers, on the sort of process to make the philosopher's stone. So some people say the color process is one way. So there's like albedo, which is the whitening. There's the negrito, which is the blackening. There's albedo, which is the reddening, and then there's citrinitis, which is the golden vessel, Christ's Sacred Heart. But then there's also like this idea that there's other processes, and in Buddhism we would say there's a green process. So part of the chrysopia, like part of the making of gold, you see green, like it flashes green, which makes sense because you need copper to make gold. So it's like really that's what it's about. It's like what are we leaving? And so this is what I personally think. I think a lot of people, like Esalen people, theosophy people, and I'm not anti-theosophy or anti-Esalen inherently. I'm like, people are gonna believe things outside of me, like what I believe, and I've learned to accept that. I think that's what I've learned in the last few months. Just like you can't thought police people, and maybe it's not even desirable to. So that's kind of what I think the reddening or the rubedo is. It's kind of like we're casting off the ash, casting off the blackened sort of like degradation of institutions. And it's less important, like trad life, trad larp, whatever. That's unimportant. What is important is pragmatism and like building, like what do we build from here? What do we do from here? That's what I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I know that was like a little heavy right off the jump.
Well, so how long was the Kali Yuga period? Like, when are we talking here? Is this like millennia or like decades or, you know?
So some texts, some Sri Vidya texts, which is a form of Indian Tantra, they put the calendar at, so the yugas would be about 700 years using
Okay.
that formula. Okay. Some of the Kali texts say it's about 800 years. Certain Buddhist calendars have different varying. It depends on the Tantra. That's what makes it complicated. Because there's 60-year cycles, there's 70-year cycles, there's 80-year cycles, and they all use magic numbers, right? And they all relate to greater metaphysical things in the cosmos. So you have to map it. That's why Kabbalah is so great, because all the systems are really one system. So once you figure it out, you just can't go crazy. You can't go crazy autistic with your mapping. That's one of the problems, that people go very. You have to kind of let it flow too. You kind of have to let things, because it's moving, right? It's not static. So that's another kind of theme of, if we're moving into like a new aeon or a new yuga, that's also like the thing, is like it's dancing. It's not fixed. It's kind of like in flux, aeon flux.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a good feeling about 2025. I think it's been off to a good start. So, and it's a weird position to be in, where I'm a little bit out of sync with a lot of the people in my kind of immediate, like, IRL social circle about that. But I
How
feel.
is it in Normuland?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been off Twitter too. So I do have some friends, of course, that I'm still in touch with, Q and KB.
Of course. Shout out
I mean,
both of those guys, and KB, who had a great episode and owes me another on truckers. Just saying.
yeah, no, so and like some of my other friends, even that, I know us outside of the internet, are kind of on the same page as me. But yeah, it's just a lot of people are just panicking, and like Hitler, Nuevo Hitler, like stuff. So yeah, my dad's been like LinkedIn, anti-Trump LinkedIn posting and stuff. So it's just it's a whole mood. But yeah, no, I think it's been off to a good start.
I am also very, as I said, optimistic, but I feel like what has been happening in, like, we could say, is like the facade or the Masonic play or whatever, the grand chessboard, the great game. Like, yeah, that's all nice. I know you guys did a great episode. I told you I'm like more than halfway done, but it's all, you guys discuss the aesthetics, the fash aesthetic. Obviously, I look at it less politically, or as my friend Solar Exile would say, meta politically. I look at it more metaphysically. Right. So that's kind of how I saw, and like the Melania stuff. I know I told you this. I think she's a Bene Gesserit. I really do. Like, I'm not really kidding. I really do. She's got steel blue eyes. She covers them. Did you notice, like, she wore the hat?
Oh yeah.
She's always in sunglasses when she's with him. She's always in hats. You can't really see her eyes. Like, what's going on? She's got like steel blue eyes. She has like she has like witch eyes.
She does. I mean, she does have kind of witch energy for sure.
And even in the inauguration picture, where he's like above the mirrored desk, there's an obelisk on her left side.
Oh, interesting.
And she's wearing black and a little white, and her hands are pressed down, and so then you can see it's like she's like the lady in the pool, kind of. That's what I thought. It's like she's kind of like as above and below, but there's only one.
You're right that her hat is like, it conspicuously does hide her eyes, and a lot of the photos really are emphasizing that. That is very interesting. Yeah.
And not the only incident lately where she has worn a very low hat. And I will say, when she was in the inauguration costume or outfit, there's a picture of her with like some kind of, I don't know, it's like a background. It's like chesed blue, so like very royal blue, and there's like a magnetic strip that's the color of her hat ribbon. And then there was like 2 stars, 8-pointed stars on either side. It might have been 5-pointed stars, but they had some kind of metaphysically significant number of points. And she's standing between them. And her hat ribbon is like on the exact parallel as the line running in the background. It's very interesting.
Wow.
So I feel like there is something definitely happening. I'm not nothing ever happens. Clearly something's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I feel like if we build it, or what we make of it, like the thing we build of it is what will happen. That's kind of what I think.
Yeah.
I think they do. Yeah, and I think you guys talked about this, like consensus building, like what is going on in the online space with Teal. And I highly recommend people listen to that episode because I mean, I love your show. Everybody, I always say that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I don't, it's hard for me to really make sense of what's going on in a kind of parapolitical sense, or even like what you're saying, maybe in a meta political sense. Like Trump has always been a hard one to pin down. I mean, I think basically, from how I would analyze it through my kind of parapolitical lens, is like Trump basically, people talk about like the deep state and sort of this monolithic entity, or like the Illuminati as some like big group that controls everything. But I think it's not quite so simple. I think it is a group of people whose interests are aligned, as in they are all have access to certain key levers of power and influence over certain very powerful institutions, financial institutions, military institutions, intelligence agencies, tech agencies, tech companies. And so, but that doesn't mean that they all are a singular hive mind that always are working 100% in concert. At the end of the day, they want to keep the machine running, and that's in their best interest, but they may have different visions on how that should be done, who should be in control. And so I think there's factions, and I think you see Trump as kind of a public face of one faction of the deep state that seems to have aligned with tech in
at least somewhat.
Yeah. Let's say, again, there's factions within tech, because I think actually a key sort of wedge between the Trump faction and the whatever you want, the Democrat, like Obama kind of faction, seems to be this deal over AI, where the Biden administration was planning to push through some kind of policy that would basically give control over AI, make it like under the control of the federal government, and basically kind of grant an AI sort of monopoly to Google, in effect. And I think when that happened, you saw all these other people, well, like Musk had already been kind of on the MAGA team, but like Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos kind of find common cause with Trump after that, since they were kind of iced out of this AI deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's one element of it. I think another key element of it is has to do with Israel. And I think after all the leftists kind of were doing this like genocide stuff and kind of making Israel the big baddie, Israel kind of backed the Trump faction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can I mean, there's a lot of indications of that, but I think a key one that's just incredibly obvious is how after Elon's like awkward like Nazi salute kind of fiasco,
Mm-hmm.
both Netanyahu and the ADL came out with statements like I've never seen the ADL put out a statement clarifying that something was not anti-Semitic before. So I think that gives you some kind of indication of how tight that alliance might be at this point in time.
Oh yeah, you're totally right, and that was great. Thank you for laying it out on my show. I think that you did a great job. Honestly, it was very acute, like always. I honestly, my opinions on these things are so out there that I honestly very rarely actually voice them, to be honest. Like, yeah, I do a little parapolitics, I do a little conspiracy, definitely do a little metaphysician, work here and there.
Uh-huh.
But
So what
sorry, go
is your
ahead.
take? No, I was just gonna ask what is your take?
Well, Jay. Okay, it's not that schizo. Okay, so it's a little bit, but yeah, I'll temper it a little. So I work with JJ Vance from Operation GCD. Him and Nick from Occult Rejects. They work together all the time. So I often live stream with him, and he believes that Trump is a Templar, basically, and I agree because the genealogy shows it. So there's a American secret society that has roots that trace back to Europe, like most secret societies, but this one is particularly American. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called the Society of Cincinnatus.
Oh.
So every American president, except for Obama and Trump, you must have patrilineal descent to be a member of the society.
Okay.
But neither Obama nor Trump have patrilineal descent, but both of them, interestingly, have matrilineal descent.
Oh.
So basically, I personally think that Obama was in control for the Biden term, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people, I think most people have come to that, at least maybe you could say that's outward, like normie conclusions. My actual real opinion is that there was like a literal black mother coven of witches that was basically a cabal that were like black Yas queens. That's honestly what I think. But it's like very like Yale secret society, and like there were a lot of like women of color, quote unquote, in Obama's White House and in the Biden White House. So I'm just saying, you never know.
Mm-hmm. Valerie Jarrett, is she one of
that's
the?
Right. Yo, she would. Yeah, she is but she's like not really though. Like once you like kind of understand, like I'm not like a Roseanne fan, like where I was like, yeah, I love Roseanne. Like, does Roseanne use Kabbalah? And do I like that? Do I get enchanted or transfixed? I think Q said that on the thing. He was like, I get enchanted by like the spectacle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm the same way, except that my thing is not the spectacle. My thing is magic. So I get it like when I see other people using it, I get like, ooh, I was like, that's cool. That's a cool like thing they're doing. That's how I think of it. I know that's weird. But so she's not really black, is how I understand it. That's, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she is like a quarter block or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But like she's not really like she's not like you know, she's like a quadrant at best.
Like Kamala.
Yeah, yeah. Well, is Kamala? Was Kamala? A lot of people don't think so, and like
Mm-hmm.
you know, I've said this, but like her name refers to like like a tantric goddess. Like
Oh,
very
interesting.
explicit. Who is golden in color
Wow.
in the black caste system of like the New Orleans, like the Code Noir. She would have been considered a high yellow with her skin color. So I always thought that was really interesting that her name means golden lotus and then also refers, and then she's also like a high yellow.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's nothing, but it's just you know, it's like my autism, my Kabbalah autism, because I'm not Jewish, right? So I don't have that. Maybe Chinese people are a little autistic as well, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think Trump's a Templar. I think that the Templars are retaking Templar territory. So my prediction is both Greenland and Canada will be taken. I'm not even kidding about this. I really do believe this.
I hope so.
And then, you know, like he's going to liberate the North. And then that's going to explain, well, liberate it in a way, because like, it's like you guys were talking about, like, what does the future hold? Like, is it like teal technocracy? Because that's a possibility. That's not, it's not, you know, that could be a very real possibility. That could be almost an inevitability, but I actually don't believe in inevitabilities. I actually believe in like a flexibility to like change, I guess, reality around you. I guess that's a very chaos magic way to think of the world.
So I have a question for you, actually. That's sort of a follow-up on our thread from the last episode. Was the kind of my, like, I guess, sort of thesis of that episode was that like leftism is basically a kind of occult project. And
oh, that's interesting.
So I mean, I think I'm just curious, you know, like with things like wokeism, etc. You know, I view in some sense as almost like a tool of mind control. All right, like you can social engineering and just creating sort of a state of obedience to the official ideology, and among other you know, many things. But I'm curious your thoughts on, I guess, what it means that at least outwardly the regime, so to speak, the new regime, whatever that means, is repudiating that ideology, and what that means and what are the implications of that.
So I'm so glad you brought this up, because honestly I totally forgot about it. I'm just owning it. I totally forgot that was like such a great theme, and actually I had a great thing to tell you. I was going to tell you this pre-recording, but I've actually been reading a lot of these, like what they call quote unquote left-hand path books. And not to be an edgelord, I'm reappraising them from my like more middle path perspective now. They're all explicitly left-wing. They will literally say, it's not just left-hand path, like whatever that even means. They will literally say that these are all for leftist goals.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, I think you can see like a lot of that sort of utopian idea, the kind of, the flattening in order to achieve like conformity. I don't know. It's all sort of, well, but I guess some of the left-hand path stuff is almost a little bit like ubermenschy sort of stuff.
It is and it isn't. That's the interesting thing. That's like we'll call it the schism between Patrick and Sochki. It's not really a schism, because then the Christians rectified it. Right? It's rectified in Tiferet, it's rectified in green and harmony. But there's also something else that arises in green. There's also pink. So that's the one. It's kind of like this, it's like a higher order thinking, you could even say. So it's like, really what I think is happening is I think Trump is reasserting sovereign control because, you know, they worship treaties. We talked about this. I know you listened to Genuflect a little bit with the two Zacks, and shout them out. They, you know, they do listen to my show. They are real homies like that. And like, thank you for that. And, you know, we talked a lot about Mithras. We talked a lot about how the Mithras is really just an apotheosis of the treaty. It's just like a container. It's like a klipa, a name that contains like this idea of a god of the treaty. But it doesn't have to be a god. It can just be like an idea, right? They can think of these things in like this kind of non-dual, in my opinion, this is what I kind of think now, is they think of things in very non-dual consciousness. So they are able to, it doesn't really matter to them. It's not like, so when you like, even the inauguration, it felt very state ritual. It felt very like that's what the thing about Melania, she's the mother of Benosh. She's asserting dominance over, she's like concretizing what is reality. And so reality is right now is like, yeah, I think we're post left and right at this point. I have seen, I know you're no longer on Twitter, and actually good for you, because it is like, it's very hellish, but there's moments of clarity and brightness, there are. But I even see people now, I see like there's like a huge decoherence on the right. There's like people who are talking about like healthcare reforms, and I'm not talking about the I call it like, that's a psyop to me, like that whole thing, that whole thing about the insurance guy and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely,
yeah, totally. I think you even said this. So I was like, yeah, he gets it. I was like, yeah, it is like so fake. And I was like, and so yeah, I think all that's fake, but I do think that there are like pragmatic. I think that's a really good theme for 2025, like pragmatism. Like, what is useful? Is it useful to categorize yourself in left and right? I know Q has been thinking a lot about this, because he posts a lot about this right now, at least. So it's like, what do you think of yourself? What klipa do you put on yourself? What identity, what husk do you wear?
Yeah.
And so I think it's like that. I think it doesn't matter anymore. I really think I'm just cutting through like the whole thing. I think people's interests are like, what defines a country? Like, what defined a country like 200 years ago? Like, what defines a country today? So I think that these questions that come into the zeitgeist, or come into the timeline, or come into sort of popular consciousness, I actually think that we need to answer them and discuss them, because I actually think it's useful and it matters. So that's what I think of Trump. I think that they build consensus through our opinions and our like kind of interest, or both like our peak interest and our waning interest in political like life, or political like machinations. Like, I think they gauge it. It's like they test it on the algorithm. They see what gets the numbers.
So do you think there was an attempt to nudge away from the kind of woke left ideology into the, like, is there some intent or motivation behind it, or do you think it's purely responsive, like they see that people were over it, and in order, as a sort of pressure release valve, they needed to adapt to reproduce the power structure?
Well, this is a great question, and I think it can be answered, as we noted in the episode that you and I did before, that you can think of it as very Hegelian, but you can also think like Hegel is just Kabbalah, right? Like, that's really what it is. They just use different words to describe it, but he's using the tree. He says he's using the tree, so I'm going to use my language. I think that this is the thing about eights. Maybe this is how I'll describe it. I'm sorry. Is the 8 is kind of like the spark of our ingenuity, humans' ingenuity, mankind's, you could say, our consciousness. It's kind of free in a way. It's free of the archons, it's free of the rulers, it's free of like, you know, the gods and the demons. It's like free of all that. It's kind of like, what do we want to do with the world that God gave us? Whether you want to describe it in theistic terms or just say, you know, this is the human realm, that's a more Buddhist obviously way to describe it. Like, so I think that that's what it is. I think that I don't think anything outside of like what is organic is organic. I think it's inorganic. I think it's all created. And so whatever point of dialectical pressure they place on a Sephira, that's intentional. And that's also when they release the pressure or pull it back to the other side, that's also intentional. So I think very little is organic in the media landscape. Very little. But
yeah.
I think there are points where we can influence it to a degree. So I'm not like black pill. Don't black pill.
No, I'm not.
I know
black.
you're not. I'm just saying in general. Don't, for people listening, don't black pill, because I think there are interesting points where we can have open discussions, open forum discussions like this.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, I was while I wasn't black pilled, because I kind of just tried to recenter my like locus of control back to me, rather than, you know, imagining that I need to kind of try to influence politics on the national scale or whatever. So even though I wasn't black pilled in that regard, I was more of the camp, like the nothing ever happens camp. And I don't think I can really, you know what I mean? That with Trump's like inauguration and first days in office, it seems hard to keep saying that nothing ever happens. Like he did something and astonishingly, like I don't know about the immigration stuff. That seems a little psyopy to me, but we'll see what happens with it. But like even just the DEI stuff, like the impact that has had in such a short period of time, and that, like, you know, Facebook making their big announcement about taking tampons out of the men's bathroom, and, you know, like all this stuff, it just seemed like something is happening. You know?
There's a zeitgeist shift.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I imagined that Trump being in office, like it would basically be like more of the same, but with a little facelift. And I'm willing to admit that I think I was wrong about that. So
well, good for you, because we all can evolve and change in our opinions. And there's legit, that's smart. That's the sage-like thing. Is to be able to evolve and adapt to the situation rather than be fixed in place by the old preconception. Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think there's an impact on the zeitgeist when they release things like Facebook's taking down the tampons, like when Zuckerberg went through his like gym bro phase. People made fun of him, but he was in the zeitgeist. He was being retweeted. He was being discussed. That's metaphysically potent, right? There's like an element to that that's real, because people carry it with them in their minds.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I definitely think Trump represents it's not a vibe shift per se, but I actually think you're right in saying that there's something more concrete about it. There's something more potential. It has more potential. It's more, I don't know. There's he seems to have renewed. I mean, that guy is like, he's an old dude. He's like shit. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He loves sex. We all know they love sex. Well, I mean, like all the Kennedys, right? Like they're all like this, and all of like he's like this, and like there's so many of these guys, but there's something that is like kind of metaphysically potent about him. I'm not saying he's like a magician, but there is something kind of metaphysically potent about someone who doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, is in very good control of like his mental faculties, almost like single pointedness, like Foley talked about. There's something really interesting about him, and him wielding the red hat of fire. The fire comes from your third eye. There's something interesting, I'm telling you. I know you believe me. I know you kind of believe me.
So do you think RFK Jr. is gonna get appointed
Yeah, I do. I mean,
or
okay,
confirmed rather?
yes. Well, I didn't know if I should go the schizo with you, and I can always cut it if I want to. But I think RFK is a Scientologist, is my personal opinion.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's bad necessarily. I'm not pro. I'm not saying that either. I'm saying that I do think a lot of the quote unquote deep state is captured by Scientology, neo process, and that whole umbrella, because those are just two sides of the same coin. That's what Dana thinks, and that's what JJ also thinks.
I'm with you.
So it's just like really it's all very interconnected, like you were talking about. It's like a web. It's a spider's web. That's the best analogy. It's all interconnected. Cults, religion, orgs, NGOs. I mean, like Biz talks about this. This is what it is, right? So I think but I do think there are factions. There are points of impact that people didn't want this. So even the Society of Cincinnatus, JJ believes that it's like I'm not saying JJ's right. I just mean that he believes that there's a liberty faction, like in a pro-America, real MAGA, like liberty faction. So
I hope so.
I think that that's true. But I also think it's dependent on what we kind of like put into the either. Because either is the fifth element, right?
Okay, so I have a sort of follow-up question for you. I'm glad you think RFK is going to get confirmed, because I hope he does. I
like him because I think we need to deal with that situation. So you can make criticisms of him. You can say he has a weird background. He has a weird background. He's a weird dude, 100%.
Absolutely.
But he's right on a lot of things.
Yeah,
so
I actually wrote to my senator to ask him to vote to confirm him, even though I knew he wouldn't. And I got a form kind of response back being like, RFK believes in like anti-scientific views, such as like that fluoride is poisoning the water. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I want him. Like, and it's not anti-scientific for the record, but yeah.
That's their favorite label, right? Like they love labels, whether you want to call that the left or like this like deep bureaucratic layer. They love labels. They love words to contain. They love Klippos. They love to contain everything. They love to contain us. That's a big part of it. Like cognitive liberty and this idea of like kind of like being free of any labels. I'm not talking about man or woman. I'm not talking about it like, but just be free of like things that are maybe biological, like not thinking of things in such fixed ways, being like, yeah, there's a lot, the world is much vaster than we perceive. So maybe we shouldn't, we have to have maneuverability.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. But my follow-up question.
I'm sorry.
So, no, I think I derailed it, but is this story about RFK, like abandoning a dead bear corpse in Central Park? That always struck me as very like Illuminati coded.
Yeah,
do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think the whale thing is really significant. I think that's probably a fake story. I mean,
what do you mean by that?
Well, it's the head of the Leviathan, right? Like it's like Psalm 74. Like I always bring this psalm up because it's a very magical psalm. It's one of the more magical psalms. Also, the number 74, right? 7 plus 4 is 11, which is the magic number. So, it's like the head of the Leviathan to feed the people. He's obviously, I mean, his kids are in the CIA. Let's not like, let's not fool ourselves. But as you said, there are factional and ideological differences. Like whatever the elite ideology is, if you want to call it Scientology, if you want to call it neo-process, it doesn't really, I don't even care about that stuff. Like, what are people going to do functionally? If you're going to function, like he's going to function, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He'll do something good, pragmatic for people. So that's what we should look for. So I'm not casting aspersions. So I just want to say that because I know a lot of parapolitical people like used to have like meltdowns if someone was like affiliated with that stuff. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't like care about it, but like if it's working for him, he looks good, he's in shape, he gets a lot of women. I don't know, it's working for him. So
yeah, he's
let
a
him not
very
to live.
interesting figure. Yeah, and it's just interesting. I mean, he's had this role, this prominent role in the media for decades, but it's sort of this villain, right? Like a
adversarial,
right? Like a, what do you call, like a, we talked about in the last episode, like a controlled opposition kind of figure.
Yes.
And it's like, I mean, is it even really a possibility that he could have had this role that was almost like destined to kind of be fulfilled in this way down the line? It's just interesting. I don't know what to make of it. Yeah.
No, they believe it. I'm not saying that you believe it or I believe it. They have an elite ideology. They have an elite cosmology, you could even call it. They have an elite ontology, like their understanding of why the world works the way it does and their role in it. That is unique to them. There is something. Now, I know you brought up Dave McGowan's work. Now, he's been getting a lot of like renewed attention, and like, a lot of leftists don't like love him, and then they don't like the like occult layer. They'll say, "Oh, that's bullshit."
Yeah.
The occult layer is the only layer.
That's
like,
the thing.
That's the main layer.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting because I come at it from a more practical magic perspective, like more of like, yeah, let's like see what the stuff is about, not do it, but just like, let's see what it's about. Like, is this workable? Is this not workable? Like, is it sicko? Because like I have like very clear moral boundaries. So I'm not going to like do anything sicko, but I want to see what they say for myself instead of other people tell me what they say. So I just want to look at people, like how they live. He's weird. I mean, the bear thing, it sort of reminds me of like the pole stars, like the Ursa Major, like this is the bear star. I had Mario from Symbolic Studies. He talks a lot about this, like the Hyperborean kind of like cosmology and the Hyperborean kind of like symbolism. And I think, I'm kind of, I don't know, notorious for using Hyperborean. And so that I do kind of agree with that. I just think that it's not some place in like Russia. I think kind of like America is like the new world. So I guess one of my weirder beliefs is that probably the treaty religion, so the Mithraic religion of like America should probably be like uniquely American, which is like weird. It is kind of syncretic. It is kind of like out there. It is kind of like not alike any other in the world. And it's an umbrella for many different kinds of people. That's kind of what I think, that maybe if there was an American religion, I think it's more like that. So I think that there's so much symbolism with them, but honestly, it's more interesting to think about like what you were saying. Like he always wears his purple tie. He loves his like eyes. He wears these like this tie had like eyes on it, and I was like, oh, that's clear dragon symbolism. Like that's how even he's drawn. He loves, like, they all love the dragon, right? And like even his voice thing.
The voice. That's another
code.
weird thing, psyop kind of thing. I mean, I don't know if he was like hit by the CIA or something, but it's just weird. I mean,
well, there is a weird idea that plus ultra is real. I mean, I'm just saying there is an idea that, I've discussed on other episodes that it could be real. Like there could be magical, the magi are in charge. Would make sense. Maga, maha. We know that all was magic. Like we know Steve Bannon's a magician. Like I want Joe Allen on my show. So I am not saying that Steve Bannon is a bad dude. I'm just saying I want Joe Allen on. So I'm not casting aspersions, but I'm just saying these guys are magicians. Like whatever you want to call them, they bend reality. Narrative is reality. You and KB and Q, of course, always talk about this. Narrative, counter narrative. Words are magic. Code, that's where the words come from.
Oh yeah, I mean, and a huge percent of the population essentially lives in the illusion, created by these people.
100%. And that's also interesting about like the stories you were talking about. It's like, does it really matter what they think that they're whatever narrative ritual, because things don't have to be real. We talked about this pre-recording a little bit. They don't have to narrate things that really happened. Or in the sequence that they happen. Like that's a very Nick Landian idea.
Right.
Chronophoresis, chronogenesis, creating your own time, narrating time in specific ways.
Right. Yeah, well, I think you can think about that with stuff like the moon landing, which, I think there's obviously a lot of kind of occult symbolism with that. But I don't think it actually occurred in the sense of like a human being like making physical contact with that entity. But is the fact that it didn't occur doesn't mean that it doesn't have that it people believe it has occurred is enough to have an impact. Right?
Yes. That's the thing. So you totally get it. It's like metafiction is reality. It's very chaos magic. And when I had my episode with Todd, who is, of his various magical lineages, which are significant and varied, as well as other people on the show, I'm just saying that they've all sort of narrated, but Todd in particular narrated a story about Peter Carroll, how Peter Carroll wrote about in Liber Null about the chaos magicians in the late 1980s, liberating sort of all this, like, the CIA is basically the biggest publisher of magical information. You can go to the CIA website and read almost any grimoire in English between like now and 1500. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Posted on the CIA archive.
Interesting.
So I think that this is somewhat true. I think that there's like different factions that like believe that people should be exposed to this stuff, and then some people believe like no, it should remain like our weird elite ideology that we don't really believe in, but we all kind of practice and just like go along with. But I think that it's more interesting to look at it like it is real. Like it's real, but at the same time, it doesn't matter if it is real, because are they like, we don't even know what they believe. Let's be honest. It's not anything. It's not old. It's not new. It's kind of a mixture. It's a mishmash. It's weird. It's Americana. Okay. Like, all the founding fathers were Masons. Let's be honest. The contract is the Constitution. So the Constitution is the Mithras. I mean, the Mithras is also adamantine. It's also Vajrayana, Diamond Thunder. I mean, why are all these words in common? Because they're all referring to the same thing, in my opinion. So I think we just go with it. I think we go with it, and then like that's what I think from my my perspective, my renewed optimistic perspective. Like we just go with the fucking weird landscape of right now, because that's real. And whatever we thought about in 2023 about like being a tradcath or a wingnut or a whatever, I don't even think it matters. I don't think anti-left matters. I don't think anti-right matters. I think that's all kayfabe. That's all bullshit.
Yeah, I mean it's I mean I think it's like there are
virtues that are found in synthesis that are good. But however, to go to either side, I'm increasingly feeling like, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm increasingly feeling like middle path is the right way.
I totally agree. All I was really gonna say is just that, like, I think there are groups of people who hold the same kind of, form a political bloc, let's say, that are called left and right, but I think they they have become increasingly kind of schizophrenic or disorganized as far as adhering to any kind of coherent like ideology.
Yes. 100%. We're in the pink ray. 100% spectral, decoherent. You know, pink's not really real. Something that our brains put on a crystalline matrix. Actually, it's quite interesting. Pink's the only color that is like that. Green also has an emergent property as well. So that's why I always say, like, we're in the pink ray, but the green is there if you want to see it. Like, the truth is there if you want to see it, but it's like, you know, it's kind of invisible at the same time. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I know I took you on a kind of Alice in Wonderland probably journey.
So your take, as I understand it, is that there is some, I guess, authenticity or legitimacy behind the Trump movement, insofar as an actual desire to kind of bring back some of these retro American values like liberty and autonomy, sovereignty, things like that.
If we define what those are right now. So it's not about you're right in calling it retro because it's an aesthetic. It's not, it's like how the leftists would always say, oh, America's an idea. And then the rightists will say, no, America is like the founding fathers, it's our history. But it was always very nebulous, right? That's not very right. It's not a very right-wing perspective. If you were really right-wing, you would say, no, America is the Constitution only. Only text orientation, right? So there's something even bullshit about the way that those things, because the America is an idea. That's also something that is true that the left would say. But it's like, what idea is of America? Like, does it matter what, like, that we had slaves? Not really. It doesn't really matter. It's fucking 2025. You know, it doesn't, the grievance politics have like no place in any discussion of what America can be. It's like way so far removed from that.
Yeah, I agree. And I always felt like I kind of grew up in this sweet spot, like in the 90s, where it was like, with the racial politics, like, you know, obviously race was a thing. Like, you understood that like there was white people and black people and whatever, like we could hang out, like get along. It wasn't like that intense. You could joke about it. No one really like took it that seriously. And then it just kind of like devolved completely to where,
Tumblr.
Yeah.
It's Tumblr.
Yeah.
It really was. It was the first big, it was the Obama age psyop. Just like everything changed in 2008, that 28. Right?
Oh, interesting. Bringing it back, Jin. I like that.
Well, I honestly didn't even think of that, but now I am. But no, you know, I always think Tumblr, like, yes, some normie feminist wrote a book on Tumblr making the trends, but like, I was not on that side of Tumblr. Like, I was like, everybody had a Tumblr. It's like you fucking posted like manga, like Monty had a Tumblr, I think. And like, you know, like lots of people did. It was like for me, it was like anime, manga, Kino pictures, like all that shit. Sometimes like a more libertarian or anarchist quote here and there, but it wasn't like some concretized political identity. But I do think that a lot of the fan fiction, a lot of the weird shit, a lot of the transgender shit, I mean, I'm against that, but you know, if you want to pay for it, you go to you. Like, I don't want to hear about it personally, but I think that a lot of the people who were into it at first were actually in the military. I think that they
absolutely
boys first, like those kids in the military first, and then they went on to produce like Psy-War. It's a big, like, obviously Michael Aquino thing, bring back Dave McGowan. Like that's magic. Like, but they're calling it Psy-War, and that's the problem with psychology as a layer, as a like level of understanding, because when they're calling something psychology, that's not really real. Well, what's really real is like magic's real. And when they're saying something psychology, it's the effect that that thing has on your mind, the perception of reality, how you interact with it. That's what matters. So that's why he used psi. That's why, like, it's the same word. He recognized that property, that psychology, is just bullshit and it's just black magic.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. You know, I just you know, I guess I'm just so hesitant to be optimistic, as crazy as that sounds, but you know, it's like I hesitate to admit that I kind of do feel optimistic
I think
about.
people are very sorry to cut you off.
No, go on.
I think there's I personally feel like there's a psyop, a lot of pressure to not feel positive, to sort of suppress people's natural inclination to actually good thinking, to good, like, being like relatively happy.
I agree. And I mean, there's like tons of these, you know, like liberals who are just every day imagining that there's going to be some kind of like oppressive genocide and everyone's going to die or be in camps. And, you know, it's like, and, you know, I've had people like, you know, somebody who like their husband was diagnosed with cancer and then recovered, and you know, on Thanksgiving, when I saw her, all she could really talk about was like how upset she was over the Trump election. You know, it's like this such bizarre, like,
Yes.
what you know, this like this, okay, your husband overcomes cancer, and yet it's what, like, Trump is looming large in your mind. You know, it's just very. And I see that dynamic. It's not just this one person. It's just an example, you know.
No.
But it's very interesting, and yeah, it's like a self-slavery kind of thing, really. I mean, like, you know, like you could just snap out of it and live your life, and really, like, if you don't want to, you don't really have to think about Trump very much at all. You know, I mean, just don't turn on the news, and you're good.
I'll say this from the sort of, maybe we'll say, the inverse perspective, is that a really good magician can transmute both love with the right hand and hate with the left hand for themselves. That's a really good magician.
What do you mean by that?
So perhaps you could say, if we're saying hypothetically, of course, Trump is a magician or something akin to that. Both that thing that liberals do, that like hyper reactivity, that feeds into him for his benefit. Just as when rightists, or what we are calling rightists, like, you know, that whole weird, whatever that even is, they believe that he is like a Christ-like or deified or like apotheosized. Maybe, you know, maybe that is true. I don't know. But what I'm saying is like, I think that he can take both of those perceptions of him. He can sort of refine that. That's like very energetic, right? It's like, to bring it back to even to the four, like the eights, and like how there's a relationship with Hesed, and what is Hesed? Well, it's mercy, but there's something else there. Hesed's really an ocean. Water has no color. We talked about this in your last episode. But there is something there. There's a reflection. That's what Hesed really is in the secret meaning. It's like the perception. It's consciousness, seeing yourself in the water and recognizing what you are. Not just knowing in a superficial way, but like deep recognition, and then having love for the things outside of you. So that is the thing, is like the true potentiality, the true power of that 8 really comes in the 4, which is Hassad, obviously. So it's like a magician would be able to, who is the 8, as I said, as a Twilight language idea. If the 8 must draw from the 4, the infinite well of potential.
Interesting.
I know that you can handle it, and I because I know I'm going a little hard.
No, I support it. Bring it on. This is what I'm here for.
I know, and that's what I like about you, is that you are game for it. And sometimes I temper myself way too much, and then I'm like, why didn't I just say what I really thought?
So you're saying you feel the Kali Yuga has ended, or is ending?
Ended
today on the Lunar New Year.
Yes.
So what's in store for us after this?
I think it is exactly like how I've always said. I think it's what we will it to be, what we make of it, what we build of it. I think it has nothing to do with predictions, with prophecies, with Babylon, with even history. Because what even is that? I think we all know that history is like a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
Largely bullshit, sadly. And not just recent history. I think a lot of like our history is very unknown. This is even true in my own life. I studied in university Southeast Asian Buddhist art. Indonesians completely forgot that they had a tantric civilization. Completely forgot. No one even remembered until the Dutch found it. So I just think, like, how can you forget like your apex history? Isn't that interesting? Like civilizations, they continuously rise and fall. They're much more axial or cyclical than they are linear.
Yeah, interesting. So when you say it's what we make of it, I mean, who is we,
Well, that is a great question. Who is we? I think it's the discerned man, but not necessarily like a man. It can be a woman too. Just
right.
Saying,
so the people who are trying to free themselves of the illusion.
I think that there are clearly parapolitical groups who are using both kind of like social mediatic magic, whatever that is, memes, but we're sort of in the post-meme, post-meta era. But whatever, like, narrative managers, all of the traditional sort of like mind control tools, plus like whatever, I don't even know what's on any of the other apps, to be honest. So whatever
you haven't made a Blue Sky account?
I have not. I just think that it's I just think that like magic's real. and like that's what reality is. And so we make of it, that's the builder, is someone who recognizes himself as the 8, as the man who is infinite in his capacity for loving kindness. So I really like Patrick. I'm not saying he's wrong. I don't think he's wrong. That Gabura is like the source or whatever, like that kind of like the sphere that's maybe slightly more important. But I have to side with Sachi on this, that I do think that like love is infinite in its quality, like whatever we define that to be. And I think love is in most qualities good. It's temporary. It's not forever. It's like, it's pink. So it's like illusory. I think when people look for that, and you can also call that the truth if you want, like very Luciferian. I think that if you are looking for that, I think that's who builds the future, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I know I'm a little, you know, this is a little meta. This is a very like meta politics. Like we're talking about like what is reality? What is politics within reality? What are the tools we use to influence it? But I think that it's like what you even said, it was very poignant. Like the locus of control has to be yourself. If you can't control yourself, how can you control reality?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so much I'm conservative or traditional, but like you, I think it's better to have a moderate approach to issues of any of those things that were popularized in, because we're very close to the same age, in our era. Like we had both of those things. We were great on race, but we were terrible on sexuality. Our generation was completely wrong. We completely got it wrong. Unlike boomers, we can admit that we were wrong. But in credit, you know, but it is what it is. So that's what I even mean about grievance politics. It's like, yeah, sometimes people are wrong. People are messy. People are complicated. So I'm not saying it's like the builders are inherently like better or superior, but I do think that there is something that like people who want for themselves a kind of, we'll call it normalcy. I think there's a more metaphysically potent, I think that's a more metaphysically potent act rather than being very transgressive or very trad life. I don't think that those are moderate. I think that's anti-moderate. And I think the moderate path is the most metaphysically potent. It just takes a little longer. So I think that that is really who builds reality, those who are in control of their own time.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you know, it's hard for me to know what to think. I mean, just having gone through COVID, right? Such an
they illuminated us.
They did. You know, I guess that they did, you know, and but it's like what did it mean to put us through that and then just have this abrupt about face? It just seems like it has to be a little bit disingenuous. That I can't escape that feeling.
That's discernment. The
Yeah.
negative and the positive, the plus and the ultra.
Uh-huh.
The two polarities. It's like, do I believe it? Do I suspend my disbelief? That's just another way to describe Hesed. Right? Like a lot of those early film scholars were Jewish. It's not I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there's an inherent quality to that kind of writing, to that kind of expression of like, because English is a very metaphysically potent language, unlike what a lot of other people choose to say. English is just, it takes more time. It's much more complicated to learn the rules and then also the ways to bend those rules. It just takes more time, but you can figure it out. There's ways to kind of work around it and with it. So I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just saying that I believe that some of that, because film is very, as you and I have discussed many times, or at least extensively on the last episode, like there's no way, like the movies we watched from like well, if you're a 90s, we're both 90s kids, but like we were watching movies from the 80s as well as the 90s. And when we enter the 2000s, we're kind of like reappraising all of that. So that seemed to be the most metaphysically potent time. Maybe you could say also Gen X. Gen X got it really hard from those like early Peter Fonda, like those late 70s movies, like from 1977, very metaphysically potent date, very metaphysically potent.
Interesting.
Also the date of the founding of the Club of Rome.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I'm just saying that there is like a pattern to reality as well. That is discernible. So I think that if we're like, we've been prepped You've been stargated, to reference your we've been, you know, whether they're Scientologists or neo-process or Kabbalists, like they're kind of not, it's like all of that, and then it's also like it's none of that. They've prepped us to go through whatever that is. So whatever we choose to believe in their ending, that's up to you. Not you, but up to anyone listening. But what you want to do, you don't have to, is what I'm saying. You have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like so much of the kind of prior control system, or this is, I guess, assuming that there's been a change in the control system, but let's just say pre and post Trump, the pre-Trump, or even including his first term, I guess, seemed like so predicated on the spiritual and physical degradation of humanity. You see that with the media, with the fluoride in the water, the food, you know, the seed oils, all this stuff that is just it's not just seed oils, but that's kind of the memeified thing, but like all this stuff that's penetrated the food supply that's completely toxic, makes people weak and low energy and low IQ and just spiritually aimless, having no value other than kind of physical immediate gratification, or just whatever kind of the media instructs you to care about at a given moment. And if some of these things in the quote unquote new regime take off, right? Like if RFK gets appointed and he gets the fluoride out of the water and he gets the seed oils out of the food, and you know, they're kind of exposing, you know, the crimes of the intelligence agencies or what, you know, it seems to be so directly undermining the control system that had been painstakingly built over the past decades. And so it's just kind of confusing to me, I guess, what to make of it.
Well, as you said, there are competing factions. That's, I think, believe that's the only plausible way there's any kind of coherent through line into understanding what is going on. I think that's a bit of a leap of faith, you could even say, but I think there seems to bear some semblance to material reality. So we can just safely, at least relatively, knowing that it could potentially 5% be untrue, whatever, however many. But okay, so we can say yes, it's likely true, but we're not 100% sure. That's perfectly okay. Because we can then just take the analytical leap that, okay, why would they go against it? Well, there was clearly factions for the last few decades, the same time as other factions that have been working towards other aims. I think that you were right in pointing out that one of the worst of the I know this term is not used as often, but like the conspiracy left, the con left, one of the criticisms of that group is that they sort of they don't focus on the metaphysics. They focus on these kind of very superficial political layers. But we know from a lot of the early parapolitical work, the more right wing, Richard Grove, like Grand Theft World, like more libertarian, you could say, more like, you know, they always like love to quote Bookchin, but like he ran for president under the libertarian ticket for 4 times. So, you know, I'm just saying, like, people's opinions evolve and change. So I think that that is also to answer your questions, like, or not your question, but kind of like where you have a doubt, is that I think that their opinions have evolved. That's why we can't pinpoint it in one fixed tradition, one fixed idea, one fixed group. I think it's kind of like it's very draconic. It's like constantly moving, constantly evolving, but things can only really do that in synthesis. Like, you have to be perceptive of what's going on for it to change in front of you. Otherwise, you're just being led by the dragon. Like, you're holding it on a leash, but it's not it's riding you. You're not riding it. Even in the Masonic philosophy, the whole idea is to like forge yourself around the edges, right? To push yourself in a Tiferet, put yourself into whatever. If they think it's serious, I don't know. Or the North Star, either or, doesn't really matter to me. So, but they're into the green ray. That's how I would describe it. So they're into the ray that kind of like harmonizing. It's like a healing ray, the color. And the dragon is completely pacified by that. So he cannot rise any further. So that also creates a paradox. So what I know that was kind of meandering, but what I'm really trying to say is that I think that there is like a mythopoetic layer that is real, is what I think I mean. So I think that there's a ways to look at reality that is not just based in the kind of like presentation of reality, because they don't clearly adhere to those rules either. So there's like a post-war consensus that all these different groups were working independently, right? Like, we know this. You know this really well, probably better than me. There was all these different groups. They weren't even maybe aware of each other, right? Because even in theosophy, they have the idea of the secret chiefs. The secret chiefs don't even have to be like ascended master. Like, that was very rarely the case. The secret chiefs were actually higher order members of other orders.
Interesting.
So there's like all these secret chiefs who were actually drawing from theosophy, which is an outer temple religion. They were drawing them into Astrum Argentum. That's just one story that I'm familiar with, but it seems like that is the case throughout it all. So and there were other groups like the Golden Dawn who were clearly poaching from the outer temple. And I think this is also true with Catholicism. I think it's also true with Judaism. I don't, there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I don't really have opinion. But I think that I don't know. I've gone on so many subjects. I'm sorry.
No, it's interesting.
But I think it's much more dispersed. And so when they coalesce in synthesis, a lot falls away. And I think that is what I've been trying to kind of get at this whole time, is like what you were saying is like, why do things seem to change? But then I have this like doubt, because the edifice has not all fallen away. But we can also look at the change of personality, because I agree they are not the rulers. They are just the public-facing vehicles, you could say. But high-ranking. I mean,
yes.
Trump did stand in front of the Queen. That's very significant.
Oh,
right?
Interesting.
He stepped in front of her. JJ loves this meme. It's like he stands in front of her. From a temple perspective, that would be like, I'm standing my ground. Like, there's actually like it's not just like a Jin meaning. It's like a real, there's like a real thing of that, because it's like their sign is the cross, right? So that can be the North Star, that can be the swastika, that can also mean Malkhut, that can also mean the kingdom, the 10. That also kind of brings it around, and I didn't mean to do that, but because the 10 can also be the 1, because the 0 is really empty. But I don't know. I mean, this is the thing. I don't think that any of the old labels really matter, but I do think the epistemology of thinking of some people does matter. Like, to know if somebody's a neocon, you can never really know. You can only judge them by their action, right? Like, how pro-war are they in this context? Because really, the only anti-war perspective that is like halfway decent is that you defend your own border.
Right.
Like if you can't have it both ways, even Kabbalistically, it wouldn't even make sense. You must have a defined edge around Malkuth. That's the only way it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you're being really autistic, I'm just saying it only makes sense if you have a defined boundary. So you can have it both ways, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
The fire has to go somewhere. You either direct it up or down. So, you either direct it towards civil society or you direct it towards outward, towards other countries.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also this idea that Trump is kind of like talking about, which I think is a good place. Maybe I want to hear what you think. But even the idea of the Canada Greenland, but he's also talking about withdrawing from the other bases. So he's doing an action that is also very figure eight. It's both constrictive and expansive at the same time.
Interesting. So what is he saying about Canada? I haven't heard that. I heard the Greenland, the Greenland thing.
Well, let me just say that the liberal Canadians are having a meltdown. It's probably more similar to your life than like Q's or KB's even.
Yeah. I mean, I hear my people here are saying they want to move to Canada. So but
it's bad here. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad, eh? We don't have a prime minister. We're ruled by a privy council who nobody knows who's actually in it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that's even true when we have a prime minister. Is that the privy council is the true ruler.
Interesting.
And they're all representatives of the crown, all agents of the crown.
Interesting.
Canadian parapolitics is actually far more interesting than people probably think it is, because we have Templars, we have the York Masons, we've got Scottish Rite Masons, we have the Loyalists, we've got everything.
Yeah, I had never given it much thought. I just kind of assumed that it was sort of not to be offensive, but like, sort of just a formality that Canada is considered like a sovereign state. I don't know. Like a polite fiction, I mean, is there a Canadian military of any consequence?
I mean, that was the key line that you said right there, of consequence. Yes, we do have a standing army as well as bases that mostly we share with the Americans. So,
right.
of course, the left loves, so we talked about this last time, the left loves to cast aspersions. They love to say, oh, Canada, there's the peacekeepers. And then there's the leftists that be like, no, Canada's like imperialist.
Yeah.
Like, you can never really win, is the truth. They like to hedge you in, right? They like to define what you actually are, not look at what you believe or what you do. Just simply like they want to say what you are before you even do anything.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we'll see how this plays out with the Trump administration too, is like, I had kind of after COVID discounted the idea of national sovereignty. I mean, it seemed like we were dealing with this basically kind of globalist monolith, or
that's what we were told, right?
Right, at least something along the lines of like the Five Eyes countries, like which includes Canada.
Yes.
And basically the Anglo-American empire kind of running the show, and that like that was, I guess, like the kind of dissident or counter narrative that was out there was like China controls the World Health Organization or something. It doesn't really make any sense, and so I think it was kind of like that group, or the people who held power in those countries, kind of pulling the levers of these international organizations to make it seem like the power source was somewhere independent. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe with Trump, people see more of an emphasis back on like actual national sovereignty. Who knows?
Well, that's what that's the, he's coming in on the right time. So whether we say, okay, he's all, it's just to usher us into, Tealverse 2.0 and 2030, 2035, whatever. Okay, that's you could say that's true. But then you could also say like maybe he is like the counter narrative, because like how does that really change if we're just ill-fated to like continue on the trajectory of like complete oblivion? It's very Klippolithic, right? It's like almost Sabbatean, you could say. Now, I'm not talking about Sabbatean in the Jewish way. I'm talking about it more in the modern magic way, because they understand themselves to be like part of this like legacy tradition of very left-hand path, like destroy the world, anti-cosmic. That's how they want to play. And then there's the other groups that are more like, we want to control the world. We want it to be fixed in place. We want to set the boundaries. And then there's these like kind of crazy, you could call them like extreme libertarians or constitutionalists in the third way. And they're like, no, actually, sorry about that. I cut out right away. It's so weird.
Oh yeah, no worries.
I
Reborn.
I apologize for that. Well, obviously it wasn't that important, or it was too important.
Yeah, I think
And
that's usually those dropouts seem to be timed at like very interesting moments. So yeah, no, but continue. I think it probably bears repeating.
So I just think that there are two factions, very black and white, very Manichaean, right? It's very like there's the two groups. There's the left, who's destroy the world, and the right, who wants to control it. There's a third way. There's been multiple third ways. They haven't all taken the correct path. It's the hardest path. Said that in Tantra, said that in Kabbalah. They always say that's the hardest path, because it is the hardest path, because tempted by either extreme, right? That's the whole thing, is the pleasures and the kind of like reactions of either path is like very tempting, and it can seem to bear fruit sometimes. So I think that the true, the archons are the rulers. Like that's what it is. It's like the archons are not like they're not like gods in the sky. Like the island is stable. That's even the idea in Tantra as well as Kabbalah. Like, yes, it turns, as in the wheel of time turns, as in we can experience different kind of like vibrations, different kind of like polar or axial shifts, sure. But that's just in your consciousness. That has nothing to do with like supernatural or deities or no deities. So that's the big thing. That's why they constantly love that dialectic between like atheism and like trad-larper theism. They don't like you to be like, yeah, that can be true. Of course, that's true. But like, we also know that God is way more than that. Like ineffable. It's like something so amazing that it's like this can never be articulated in any language. So like, who cares? Like, why do we don't worship husks? That's what I think. I mean, it's more Buddhist, obviously. I'm, more non-theistic like that. But why worship husks? Like, why we come to this world? We're here to rectify our karma, live in the best way, which I think is like a more normative way. And then we go, and then we like are reborn somewhere else. But like, shouldn't we like spend our time, thinking about like what is the point?
Mm-hmm.
And then we slowly, as you said, we slowly expand outwards, but with our own discernment. We get to choose the points of pressure we place upon the Sephirah. It's not the archons controlling us, because the archons in many ways are just in our own minds.
Mm-hmm. But when you say like to live in the normative way, what if how do you discern the norm? Like what if the norm has been shifted to an extreme position? You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes. This is a very interesting Kabbalistic idea. So, okay, so I'll just describe it in the way that I've described it before, because I think it is an interesting way, if not necessarily the most. We'll call it a speculative ontological way, not necessarily drawing from any one text, but maybe just my kind of synthesis of them.
Okay.
So I think we're entering into this thing. I've called it the Aeon of the Daughter. I'm not the only one. There's Thelemic texts, there's a lot of tantric texts, there's Buddhist and Indian texts that talk about it. There's theosophical texts as well. So it's kind of a weird idea. I get it, but it's kind of that we're in the rectification of the mother period, like very like what comes after Kali, you could say, like what comes after destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the texts describe it as like a girl in the pink ray who's dancing at the moon, like very like Libra 49, like Babylon. And it is like that in many ways. It's like we're in this like Gnostic kind of period where things are both real and not real at the same time. So the idea is for the daughter is that the rectification of both the father and the mother happen in her own mind, meaning that she mixes the traditional with kind of like this new approach to it, not being so fixed, dancing. So that's kind of my opinion on that, because I don't like doing like social commentaries. I'm not comfortable doing that, just because I have lived like a very normative life in the way that I fucked up a lot. So I'm not really, I don't want to give anyone advice on like how to live their life. I really don't. That's not like, that scares me. I don't like that. But in my opinion, it is better just to like, we have to love as like people we know loved. We can't like, there's a very clear define like what the family is. That's maybe the most traditional thing of all mankind, dating back to like Adam and Eve. Like we all know what that looks like. We all have an innate sense of okay or not okay. We know not to hurt things smaller than us. It's like a very clear, there's some very fundamental human capacities for loving kindness that are materially real. So that is what is traditional. What is new is whatever we make of it. So like I know you guys discussed like the Yarvin thing and his like what he calls very far right monarchism. Monarchism is not far right. Monarchism is of the red ray, correct. But monarchism is in Malkuth, the kingdom. Can't really be that right wing. It's in the center pillar. So there's even these people that are thinking of it and they're trying to like code their thinking, but they're really talking about what I'm trying to say is they're using Kabbalah, but they just pretend that, you're all dumb. You don't get it. I'm so smart. They do. They really do. I see this all the time. But I think this is a big thing of why I don't know. I felt like I talked way too much. I'm sorry.
No, I listen. I asked you the question. So basically, you're trying to trace normalcy back to some kind of like core or universal fixed values.
Yes. I think you can use Kabbalah perfectly. Yod He Vav He. So easy. The father, the mother, the daughter, and the son. Then you have the fifth element. The fifth element is consciousness. It's deciding where you're going to like expand your kingdom, if you want to call it that. So you're the man at the crossroads, at the X, if you want to say, and you have to decide where you want to go. I don't know. It seems very rational to me. I know people find me very like out there, but to me, that seems a very rational way of looking at the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you put it like that, I guess, yeah, perhaps it's easier said than done, but
See, that's what's difficult. That's maybe the real trick of the archons.
mhm.
And there's even an interesting idea in this, in the reference to the Aeon of the Daughter. In the hypothesis of the archons, there's a small section where Nuria is speaking to the angel of the crossroads. And he says specifically to her, like, everything that the archons tell you is bullshit. It's totally a lie. It's totally a metafiction. He doesn't use that word, obviously, but that's what he's talking about. And she goes, oh, they told me they did this. They told me that they defiled the world. And he says, no, you can never defile what is pristine, like what is from God. So I think that that's the whole point of the archons. It's like, it's not that they're really in control, but they like to, LARP is in control. And then also they like to exercise control when they want to. So I think we have seen a shift. Personally, is my personal opinion. And I think that we will continue, but it is like, again, what we want it to be. If like people become like normie libtards again and want like, DI everywhere, it seems very Scientological to me, the DI thing, but that's like neither here nor there.
Interesting.
It seems very like, developed in some like office cubicle in Clearwater, Florida. It does. Like some black HR lady. I don't know. It's very weird. And then to get rid of it, the way they got rid of it, that's also very like bureaucracy, very Scientological. I don't know. Anyway, but I just think that we have to decide. That's kind of what Stargate was to me, like as the broader theme, maybe for to just speak with you, which I always, of course, look forward to. But the idea of the Stargate, like, what is that? Like, is it aliens? Sure. Are some of them retarded and believe in aliens? Yes. Okay. Do I personally believe in aliens? No, I don't. I think it's all consciousness, or mostly consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to. That's what I mean about like, even like, to reference. I stole it from Solar, so I apologize if Solar will listen to this. But anyway, if you're thinking about it meta politics, I think it's like, where do you focus? Where do the normies focus? Mm-hmm. But then also, like, to bring it back to your question about like, who is the builder or who are the builders? Mm-hmm. A lot of people are on Twitter to be the builders, because Twitter is the X, Twitter is the kingdom, Twitter is the malkuth. That might be a good place to end it.
Yeah.
I a long time, but thank you so much for coming on, A. I really appreciate it. I honestly look forward to you. I don't want to say you're my favorite. You're just someone I feel like I can honestly way too much to, but I feel like I can just do it. I don't know.
No, I
you
like
have a good magnetism.
Yeah, I always appreciate coming on your podcast. I feel like I always learn a lot. So, and it's like an opportunity for me to pick your brain. So that's I always welcome that opportunity. So.
Well, I'll have you back on. It seems like too many episodes ago, 23. This will drop in the 40s.
Wow. That's wild. It doesn't even seem like it was that long ago, but I don't.
It wasn't that long ago. That's what's crazy. But that's how it goes, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you. And thoughts and prayers, like at least my top 3 favorite shows of all time. I feel like maybe that's why I like you, because I have that weird parasocial thing. But
we appreciate that. And same with the Threshold Saints. It's always a fascinating listen. So
okay, well, thank you so much, A, and I'll make sure to include all the show notes for the show, and whatever he's changed his Twitter to at that moment. Right now it's Twink. I forgot, it's some Twink thing.
I don't even know. So
it's probably better that way. But anyways, so okay, thank you so much. This was amazing. Great. Happy Chinese New Year.
Yeah, same to you.
Thank you.
Bye, Jin.
Have a great day.
You too.
しないまだまだ千人まだバカ千年間の孤独まだまだ千人まだバカ全然感動しないまだまだ Reading you like food or hear a fruit